Good evening and welcome to another proper repair video. It looks like everything in our view could be replaced, but we're gonna focus on the CV boot as it is the most critical part for the inspection. First, remove this cap and then loosen the axle bolt using a 17mm Allen socket. Then raise the car and remove the wheel. One option is to remove the entire axle by unbolting it from the transmission. However, I will use a different approach. I should start attaching the tie rod. This nut is a 16mm. The top screw is a 14mm, but a wrench won't get you very far. Get an impact tool. Grab a 10mm Allen socket or key that will fit inside. Then push the tie rod out by force. Next, we need a 17mm wrench and a 16mm socket on an impact. To detach the upper control arm, you can help yourself with a screwdriver, but in my experience, hammer works best. To prevent everything to fall on the ground, place something underneath the brake rotor. This wooden lock works great. Now you can remove the axle bolt. Detaching the axle from the wheel hub requires a bit of trickery and strength. It should easily slide out, but space is tight to move it to the either side. The CV joint is secured with a snap ring and it would be quite difficult to just pull out. The trick is to reuse the axle bolt and tighten it until you see the CV joint snap off. Just make sure that the bolt is in the line with the axle when tightening it. Easy as pie. Now we can cut off the CV boot and of course clean up the old grease. Mind the position of the spacers and take them off. The flat sides go back to back. The snap ring is another tricky part. A pick works best for its removal. We're dealing with only a few parts, but still it's good to stay organized. You can reuse the spacers, but the axle bolt is a stretch bolt, so it should be used only once. I'm also replacing the other bolts since they were really cheap. All parts match, we're good to go. The queen of the show is of course the CV boot. Let's remove the old one. Now carefully disassemble the CV joint and keep in mind the position of the parts. If it is not making any grinding noise and there is plenty of grease still inside, there's a good chance it is still good. If you see any damages, it obviously needs to be replaced. But in my case, the issue was caught early enough. If the joint needs any cleaning, now is the time. In the kit we have CV boot, grease, 2 clamps, axle bolt, snap ring and spacers. Start by using half of the provided grease and liberally lubricate the joint. Now we move back to the axle and most importantly, first place the small clamp. Then place the boot on the axle. Next on the list are the spacers. Snap ring is a bit of a pain in the ass to get on, and you want to spread it as little as possible. Now place the joint and we'll again use the trick with an old axle bolt. Screw it on a few turns and hammer the joint on the axle. If it's not moving relatively easily, the snap ring might have been overstretched. You know you're good to go when the joint meets the spacers. Undo the bolt and squeeze the rest of the grease inside the boot. Placing the boot over the joint requires a bit of patience. It is a very tight fit. To secure it in place, we'll use the provided clamps and special Oetiker pliers which press the notch in the middle. Place the clamp as tightly as it goes by hand, then slowly yet firmly compress the notch. Repeat for the small clamp on the other side of the boot. Now clean inside the wheel hub and use the last bits of grease to lubricate the hub before inserting the axle back. Insert the axle bolt, only hand tight for now. You can help yourself with the jack when reconnecting the control arm and the tie rod. Let's start with the control arm. To keep it in place, take an old bolt and slide it in the bore. The new bolt was 16 rather than 17 mm, not sure why. Anyway, torque it to 40 Nm. We move to the tie rod. This nut torques to 45 Nm. The top screw, however, only to 7 Nm. Now is a good idea to clean up any corrosion on the brake rotor and on the wheel before putting it back on the car. The new axle bolt is a 27 mm and first needs to be torqued to 190 Nm. This was already quite intense. However, the next step is to do another 180-degree turn, which is on a completely new level. First, I tried one breaker bar and managed to do only a couple degrees. The second breaker bar turned into a melee weapon. Then I marked the position of the bolt as to how far it needs to turn and try the cordless impact driver. And then an air-powered one. As it was all to no avail, I put a 3/4 inch 1 meter long breaker bar at the appropriate socket. Still, feel free to be amused by my attempts to turn this bolt all the way. In the end I have succeeded. Along with slight turn with the previous tools, this should be very close to 180 degrees.